All right, perfect. Well, thanks so much for joining us again. I can see a few names that are repeat, which I'm seeing for the first time, but there are a bunch of names where you're attending us for this webinar for the first time. So you're welcome. You're most welcome. We do this every month. Actually, we're trying to do this every 3 weeks now because we've had great feedback about the insights that we were able to give. And yeah, we're back again, and we are back with the hopes of preparing you early for BFCM. Now, you can't ever be too early, but we feel that this is the right time to think about this, to plan in advance, to come up with ideas that can matter at that time, to test those ideas, make some changes. If something has to break it now. Something has to work, know that it works now, and then you could always go to the next level. Let me just take care of this. Give me a quick moment. Okay, we've got a robot in the meeting, and we don't want robots because that really hampers the stability of the connection for some of us. They take up a lot of bandwidth. We'll just try and see if we can remove them. Okay, perfect. All right, so let's jump right in. I have 20 winning ideas that I'm confident will make a big difference. The reason it's called 20 winning ideas is because we've either implemented them somewhere or helped A/B test them in some way or form, and we know for a fact that it works. We have data, we have evidence that these ideas work. Now, does that mean that all 20 of them will work for you? Obviously not. There are a few that might not be relevant to you, but most of them are ideas which you can go and implement straight away, and you won't have to wait for someone to, uh, you know, uh, kind of come in and explain it to you, or maybe develop it for you in a really detailed way. I think they're worth the effort. Some of them are higher effort, so I feel they're worth the effort. I'm going to jump right in, and I'm going to spend a couple of minutes in each of them. So ideally, in 40 minutes, I would have walked you through all of this. And I'm happy to take questions as we go or at the end. So if you have any questions, you can put it in the chat or the Q&A section, and I'll try and take them up right now as I talk, or I'll take them up at the end. Okay. All right. Let's jump in. The number one thing that we have to remember about BFCM is that when you run a sale, and I think you already know that, all of us, when you are running a big sale for Black Friday and Cyber Monday, uh, you are kind of one in a million, as they say, right? So you're kind of everybody else is also doing that. So it's extremely easy to get lost. It's extremely easy to get ignored. Your most loyal customers will love you for the deals that you run, but acquiring customers is going to be the most expensive. Ads are going to be expensive. The competition is going to be at its peak. Email inboxes are going to be super cluttered, and attention spans will be shorter. People will be on a holiday. They might not be spending as much time looking for things, doing things as you would imagine. LinkedIn, for example, or a lot of social media platforms see higher engagement during the weekdays than they do on the weekends. And that's because when people are at work, they have more time. They have more time to do things, more time to surf the internet. They're sitting in front of a system. So the chances of them exploring things, learning things, doing things are a little bit higher, right? Of course, there are days when it's high, and there are days when it's low. But regardless, I think the goal from the get-go for BFCM this year, 2025, for you has to find a way to stand out. And once you stand out, once you have the customer's share of attention, is to capture that and convert it. So we're going to spend a lot of time on the capturing and converting that attention, because I'm assuming everybody's going to invest a truckload of money in actually getting that attention. So the first thing to think about is your homepage. A lot of your traffic will be direct. A lot of your traffic will enter through the homepage, because either customers that already know you will be sharing your brand, or you're going to be driving traffic to your product or some other page, and people are going to go and look at other things that you have. So it's important that you look backward, look at past data to understand which categories and which products really worked for you. Or look outward also on what everybody else is doing. And when I say everybody else, what I really mean is Amazon, Best Buy in the case of electronics, Etsy, all of these Goliath, these large internet businesses, they kind of set the theme or understand the theme for the holidays really, really well, right? For example, it's extremely well known that given the viral trends that are running on social media throughout September, October, November, and December, um, the toy market, the manufacturing of all of the products that happen, for the gifting season, is greatly affected. So we have to kind of pick up from where they are and then establish what's going to work for us. We of course can't start offering products from a different category, but there's a lot to take from these large companies that have mountains of data on knowing what works. For example, the latest trend these days is Labubus, which are Chinese made toys. They're expensive and everybody's kind of putting them on their luxury handbags, but naturally some form or in some way that has to play a role for these holidays. So we've got to kind of keep an eye out for those trends. Looking inward, of course, is important. Your customers already have the wish lists. Your customers over the last 6 months would have told you if they've looked at a product that was out of stock. They've requested for stock reminders if they were out of stock. So how can you use that data? And then, of course, you can also think about business first. You can filter by profit. You can filter by the amount of discount that you can do. Can you find a way to push high margin products? But generally, I've seen that this advice is counterintuitive because 80% of your sales comes from 20. The power law applies everywhere. A large part of your revenue comes from a few products, and there's no reason for you to use the sale period to try and push everything else than what works. If you know something works and there are a few products that customers prefer with you, then let's stick to promoting those. Let's stick to going after them, and then kind of innovating from there. When it comes to holiday storefront, there are a few things that we've tried and they've worked very well. The first thing is daily deal reveal. So instead of running like a flat sale, think of doing deals on a daily basis or every 2 days. So you could refresh the deal every 48 hours. What that does for you is you're running every deal you run on every product or collection is time bound. So people know it's not going to be there forever and it's going to create some sense of urgency for them to buy. Second is you are consistently keeping people engaged or gamifying the whole deal and sales experience. So we've done this in the past where we actually published the calendar, where we said that leading up to to Black Friday, on Monday, this is a collection that will have a sale. On Tuesday, this is the collection that will have a sale. And then Wednesday, this is the collection that will have a sale. And the sale will run till stock runs out. And we only have limited stock. So people know that this is going to last only today. And if you are a brand that has overused timers in the past, then it will not work for you. If you're a brand that has never done that, this is a great time to start doing it because it works very well. People trust it if you do it well, and it works really well. The other thing is building bundles. Allow people to drag and drop things and kind of buy a few things together. That during holiday season picks up very well. It's not a CRO idea, it's a UX change. It's a little bit harder to execute, but it works well if you're in a category where you're selling complementary products which people can pick up together. Gift finder quizzes, for example, shop by budget or shop by the collection that you want, and then lead people into something that will work for them. So a product selection wizard is what we call it. I'm looking for a t-shirt in this size for somebody who has this kind of a body type, and then you lead them to 2 or 3 products that make sense for them. That really personalizes the whole thing and takes it to the next level. The idea is that what we've written down here as well is that your new storefront needs to look like an event destination, not just a collection page. That's generally what happens is there's a huge banner that says BFCM sale, everything 70% off or something like that. And then there's products and categories. We don't want to do that. We want to let people get a next step into their shopping journey and then lead them into the right products, right? Prevent banner overload. That happens a lot as well. There are just too many things we are trying to communicate at the same time. 70% off on everything, 40% off on t-shirts. So there's generally the banner has a lot of discount percentages. But then when you actually get into collections, most of it is like 15% or 20%. And it's the obnoxious looking yellow jacket with pink stripes that nobody is going to buy, which is on 80% off because it never sold. And so that's disappointing. It takes time, and people don't remember your brand in the right way. They also have no incentive in sharing it with their partner or anybody else and saying, "Hey, check this out. What do you think about it?" Because you've annoyed them. So think of it this way: keep the banner simple. The top banner, keep it very simple. If you just want to talk about free shipping, talk just about that. If you just want to talk about today's deals, just talk about that. The secondary banner should be for less urgent information, right? So talk about bundles, talk about the main sale event that you're doing, talk about the main collection that you're working on. And then later on, once you have a lot more data and context about the customer, you can do contextual reminders of things that may be happening, right? So that's the right way to think through messaging. The next one is guided shopping paths. So this is another interesting one. I already kind of spoke about this, but we've looked at tons and tons of data. And what we've realized is during sales, especially during sales, a lot of people are very impulsive, right? They landed on your website without really knowing what they want, right? And so what we've realized works very well is guided shopping paths, where you can just go and shop by a certain or narrow down, quickly. Think of it this way: when you analyze the last 1000 orders that have been placed on your store, and if you look at the journey of each of those orders and you plot that journey on a chart, that journey, the kind of total of all of those journeys would give you your most frequented or most intended purchase path, right? The most classic one, which is shaped in the form of a funnel, is home, collection, product, and checkout. But that's generally not how people shop. People don't a They don't land on the homepage. A lot of your traffic enters on the product page because that's where you're sending the traffic, at least paid traffic. And what that will allow you to do when you look at that is find gaps in the way you let people, or how easy you make for it, for people to follow that path. So, for example, if you have a lot of traffic acquisition happening on a certain product page because the product looks great in an ad, then there is, you'll have to think out of the box. So there is all the merit in putting your collection or category tiles on the product page itself, right? And that goes really well. For example, I would put shop by budget on my product page. So if I've scrolled all the way down on the product page saying not sure about this, shop by budget or shop by lifestyle, or you could do an occasion based navigation. So you're taking them away from the product page, right? Which is counterintuitive again, but you're taking them somewhere where you're hoping they'll find something better. They'll be more excited. And so think of building a list of all permutations and combinations that could make sense. And I think there's a big opportunity there for you to keep traffic on your site. And despite running massive sales and despite the low attention spans, still have a high time on site number, right? The minutes that they spend with you. Progressive disclosure is by far the most underrated technique that I feel people don't use enough. I think the number one place where we all already use this is ads. Any ad agency that you've ever worked with, if they do well, if they know their job, they use curiosity as a big tool to drive results for you, right? The job of an ad and the copy on the ad is not to convert the customer. It's not to convince them that they need the product. It's to convince them that they need to see more, that they need to click and they need to go to the site and see more information or check what's really happening, right? And so the thumb rule is you to show less information upfront. That does two things for you. It cleans things up. And this is again opposite of what most people would say. Most people would say your product page should have everything in one go, right? It should have an add to cart button, trust symbols, it should have testimonials, it should have shipping information, a great product image, a nice product title. It should talk about trust information relating to the brand and quality of the product. So all of that has to be, in the single place. Yes, but you have to leave 2, 3, 4 questions in the customer's mind. You have to leave them unanswered. And so you have to just do disclosure enough to keep the customer interested, but then also not answer all their questions. Let them bite, let them explore or find answers to their questions. Have an FAQ section on your product page. Have a hero image to hero the product in a big way. Use expandable sections, right? Progressive social proof. For example, instead of just saying, you could always say that if something is a number one bestseller, etc. But you can also put review highlights. So if they click on it, instead of showing them all the reviews, show them some highlights from the reviews. People generally think that this is what they think about the product. So that's the right way of doing it. Progressive visual storytelling. This is an example here. For example, your best sleep yet. If you see the image, what's happening here. Fall asleep fast, wake up refreshed, no morning grogginess, support stress. This sounds like it's a magic pill, right? But the thing is, what it does very well is it makes you curious. What this will do for you is you're going to now give it the next 60 seconds of your life to understand why and how this pill achieves this for you. You will not click add to cart, but you've convinced the user to go deeper. And they answer this question very well if you just go through the next two images, that they have a mix of things that really work for sleep. It's going to spike your melatonin. It's going to make sure you wake up fresh, that kind of stuff, right? So that's really what we're trying to do. High value shoppers. I think the one exercise that I recommend we all do is go through a list of customers and slot them into different buckets, right? So the number one bucket that I feel we should all have is a VIP bucket. These are people who are big spenders. Like if you just make an Excel sheet of all your customers and the top 300 or top 500 that have the most revenue they have given you or the most amount of money that they've spent with you, they are your big spenders, right? So you need to look at frequency and purchase history. And what that gives you is you have to reward them. You need to call them out and bring them in saying, hey, you are a VIP and we are giving you the BFCM sale 2 days early. So you can block whatever you want before the rush is on. And Amazon does this for Prime customers. Obviously, Amazon does not have a bigger tier, and Prime is not special at all. Most of us have it, and I think we use it in some way or form. But the thing is that these VIP deals and this VIP access, if you truly make it VIP, the conversion on this base is very, very high. You've essentially convinced the already convinced to spend with you, spend even more with you, and you've given them that extra, attention that they will really appreciate. So I think putting this together, working on an email story for just these people, putting together an SMS campaign for just these people will go a very, very long way. Right? Similarly, you can also segment your life cycle emails. And the way to do that, for example, and I have a few examples here, feel free to steal all of these examples. The first is people who are VIP and they've abandoned the cart, right? These are people who are your best customers, but they also didn't buy. Right? So in this case, your VIP picks are waiting, check out before they're gone, right? The next is VIP and the collection preference that you have for them. These are your VIP customers which buy or they've looked at a specific collection lately. Now, we generally track all of this data for our customers. So creating these segments for us is very easy and it's very quick. And we do this as an exercise every year. But I'm confident that putting in the effort to narrow your list down to these 1,500 people and then sending a meaningful enough email to them, it's going to go a long, long way. Another example is highly engaged subscribers, people who open emails, but they're also dormant customers. They've not really purchased in a while, right? So people who open but haven't bought. A very simple angle, right? And in this case, you could just simply say, hey, we know you've been looking at us. We thought we'll say hi. So have quirky copy that you can call out the behavior, and that way they feel that it's personalized for them. And again, unengaged subscribers, but people who bought on discount earlier. These are people who love deals, they love discounts, and so you've got to focus on that. All right. If you have any questions, once again, please put them in the chat as we go. If you don't, that's fine. I'll take them up at the end. But I'm just going to keep going. And if you feel I should slow down, or if you have any other feedback for me, please DM me on the chat, and I'll be happy to. I'll be happy to slow down or anything else that you might need. Okay, perfect. Decide on the discount mechanics. Doing a site-wide 40% off is the most boring thing you can do. I think if you're a brand that people will be okay to engage with a little bit more than normal, like if you're extremely transactional, then you cannot do this. But I would recommend you create some kind of a mechanic for the discount. For example, threshold freebies, the oldest trick in the book, right? If you buy above $100, you get a free gift. Exclusive tote bag with purchase today only, right? So free gift. Time-based mechanics. We're running an extra 10% off just till 2 p.m. Also, if you ever do something like this, please be honest about it. Don't run it again the next day and then again the next day, right? So be kind of clear about the fact that if it's time bound, it's going to happen only once. It won't happen again and again and again, right? The simple thing is when you want to prepare for something like this, first build and test a flash sale logic, right? Ensure that prices can flip on schedule. So this is an important thing because if it doesn't work for you, you want to be able to revert back. So that's why I say that you should be able to experiment with stuff like this beforehand. And as I keep going, I'm going to show you how to do that as well. Okay. Run a soft promo, right? Sometimes we just give away too much discount, right? A 5% email opt-in, 5% off discount email opt-in for most brands that are higher in ticket size converts just as much as a 15% email opt-in. But you don't need to give out 3 times the revenue to actually make it happen, right? Segment VIP lists, I've already spoken about it, and there has to be some kind of value add mechanic. So whether it's personal styling or a free gift or a gift packaging that's free, or maybe an engraving, all of that can work out. Then there are alternative urgency triggers, right? What this means is, hey, you know what, we are doing something specifically for Black Friday. We're going to plant a tree for every order you place with us, right? Or instead of, you can choose one of two things. Do you want to get a 20% discount, or do you want us to donate that 20% to a charity, right, of your choice, or a charity that supports, you can think of what cause you feel most strongly about. So there are two things that does for you. The first thing that it does is you understand if people are ready to give up, what kind of customers you deal with, ready to give up their discount for a good cause. Second, I think you just add more value to the world if you do something nice. So I think that works really well. I think it also completely changes the way people see your brand. So that's another huge outcome of that. Pick the right driver. Will it be driven by SKU scarcity? So I think it's also important to make sure that you have the right hook when you run something like this. If there are any optional perks you want to add, like loyalty points, that works great. And then after your sales are done, make sure that you tell people how much value they added, right? Spotify does a Spotify wrap. I don't know why more brands don't take inspiration from that, and they should just send a year in review to all of their customers saying, hey, because of you, we funded 100,000 meals or planted 10,000 trees, etc. Right? And I think that would be phenomenal. That's almost like planting a forest. Use returns as a full-fledged marketing strategy. This, I think, is underrated. Most brands during the sale period don't do returns. So if you can stand behind the quality of orders you're getting, you can offer extended holiday returns. Cartier does, for example, 3 months worth of returns. So if you buy a Cartier product, I know it's Cartier, but if you buy a Cartier product, you can return it 3 months after you've bought it, even if it's bought in November or December. I think we have an example of that on this document. Make sure your returns policy is extremely visible. This, one of the important things about returns is you have to make it extremely transparent and easy. You will automatically be different from what everything else is doing, right? Okay, I think the Cartier example is here. That's where I got from. The next is to invite shoppers to engage with you. This is another really good one. In this case, what you're doing is you're building a wish list. So for example, Black Friday sale is coming along in the next 15 days. Why don't you opt in, or you can build a wish list of the products that you want during Black Friday. And anything that's in your wish list will give you an extra 10% off or something like that. What that does is you get a lot of opt-ins and engagement beforehand. But first, just think through how you want to do it, because this is easier said than done. Be careful about how you're going to get people excited about the campaign. Do they even want to make a wish list in advance? And are you going to offer something like an extra carrot for them to actually go through that effort? If you have a solid fan following, you can also convert this into a community. So you can just essentially announce that, hey, we're launching this new product this Black Friday, Cyber Monday. If you want access to that 48 hours before we launch it, you can opt in and let people opt in. Let's say you have 2,000 opt-ins. You can bring all of them into a single list. Now that's your loyal fan base. These people want you before anybody else. So you have your early adopters, and all your launches should actually go through them, right? The next one is cross-channel. I think this is, again, super underrated. I don't know why everybody sticks to email only. SMS works well if you're doing automations. They work very, very, they work very, very well if you do them the right way. I know there are people here that have probably tried SMS and it hasn't given the kind of revenue results that you were hoping for. And that's probably because you saw that as a promotion channel and not an engagement channel. So the moment you start to look at it like an engagement channel, you'll realize that it's actually not that bad, right? And ensure that the timing is right. Normally, if your cart abandonment email is going next day, in BFCM, it has to go in the next 2 hours, because the window of attention, as I said, is very small, and you have to convert the customer. You cannot give them too much time to think about it, right? The other thing that I feel is very underrated is customer support or chat. I think chat is just super deprioritized in general, and it's extremely important that you give it the attention that it needs. Put your support on steroids. Ask people questions while they are shopping proactively. You should trigger chats. You should initiate the conversation and ask them what they want. Ask them if they need help. I think it goes a long way. If you are able to just track the metric for chat to convert, which means conversion rate for people who chat with you. That conversion rate will be at least 15 times the conversion rate that you normally have on your site. And so that should tell you enough about how seriously you should take chat. I think generally everybody has a chat, but it's kind of this thing where you've added it because you should. And if I chat with you, it's going to ultimately end up in an email and somebody's going to reply to it maybe tomorrow. So I feel that it's important that you find a way to man that chat in reality. Maybe use a resource from somewhere, outsource it or offshore it to somebody, some other country. So this is again a great idea. Halloween sale should be a BFCM warm-up. You should also use the Halloween sale as a testing pad for all of the crazy ideas you might be wanting to implement. For example, you can initiate your VIP list sign up during that time, right? You can do your BFCM list creation during this time. Looking for solid deals, don't forget BFCM, sign up now and get the deals 24 hours early, so on and so forth. I think that obviously goes very well. You can also claim that it's actually a warm up, right? This is just the start. Things are going to get bigger, but be cautious about this, because if you tell people that things are going to get bigger and we're going to be doing great discounts in BFCM, then they don't convert it right in that moment. So you're delaying the conversion, and that's never a good idea, right? The other thing that's a huge phenomena, and we have 2 points dedicated to the last point I'm going to talk about also is this, but generally speaking, post-purchase regret is one of the biggest reasons some brands don't do well during the season, because the top line revenue might work, but there's a lot of RTO. RTO is return to origin, or there's a lot of dissatisfaction in purchases. And that's really because the prices are so low, you're thinking if this is the lowest or not. They're also thinking if this is the best possible thing to do, was the best possible decision or not. And so I think the right way to make sure that you curb that, you don't let people get into that regret mode, is first give them confidence that they're getting a great deal, right? You got it for 139, it's smarter than paying full price, you got the best deal, right? You are buying it at the lowest price this jacket has been in the last 30 months, right? That simple copy on your product page will convince people to pay whatever price you ask of them, because you've given them the confidence is the lowest for that specific product, right? Confirmation emails as well, right? This item sold out in under 12 hours last year. So you've just got it, right? You've killed it. As a customer, you are great, right? This is our best offer of the year guaranteed. So just give them confidence that they have the best possible deal, right? Last 5 ideas, we're going to focus on mobile. This is super important. I know most of your traffic comes from mobile. Maybe the last time we should do 15 on mobile and 5 on desktop, but I think they're great ideas nonetheless. The thumb has to be kept busy, right? So this heat map that you see here is a great example of that, right? If you hold your phone in your right hand, which you probably are right now, if I'm not wrong, because I'm sure there are people not paying attention. So, all right, if you hold the phone in your right hand, only the green part is easy to reach. Everything else isn't. Now open your website. I'm confident the search is tucked away in the top right here. The hamburger menu is on this our section. And so what that does is obviously you're expecting slightly more effort from the customer. So keep the buttons center of the screen, place search and checkout and that kind of stuff at the bottom of the screen. Design the site layout like an app, so that it's easier to use and you're not stretching out your thumb too much, right? So really simple advice. More swipeable choices. So in general, the gesture you want to rely on when on mobile is swipes and not clicks. I've seen people doing a lot with buttons, but really touchscreens are gesture friendly and desktop is not. A cursor is what needs a click. Your finger really doesn't. So I would find a way to use, scratch or swipe a little bit better. In fact, do scratch cards for pop-ups. We do that all the time for our customers, but those work really, really well. Harness micro interactions, right? Generally speaking, find a way to do ripples, animations, things that move, things that shake, colors that change. I know it sounds a little bit ridiculous that you're treating the customer like a little baby and trying to get their attention using sounds and all kinds of different things. But these things work wonders because not many people invest time and effort in doing that, right? They don't invest enough time and effort in playing with shadows under the buttons when somebody hovers on it, or any kind of sounds. A CTA transitions, how the page loads, all of those things really, really matter. So I think because attention spans are going to be really low, you'll have 100,000 goldfish on your site. You'll have to be sure that you've captured it. Two last points. The first is build a speed layer for mobile checkout, right? So how you do this is very simple. First, audit your current checkout step, process on at least three different mobiles, and it can't be three different iPhones. Do an iPhone, do a Samsung, and maybe a OnePlus or something like that. Once you've done that, focus on stripping out everything you don't need, all of the optional fields. Think of reducing scroll depth, right? And do multiple pages maybe. If possible, implement a one-click checkout. But most importantly, don't do the testing on a desktop with using Inspect Element or any of that. Use an actual phone. Finally, autofill is extremely important on mobile. On mobile, if you're not using autofill well, you're losing conversions straight away. So if there are any keyboard issues, like keypad not turning into numbers when you're entering the zip code, or when you're entering the mobile phone number, or just not auto capitalization not working really well, all of those things will annoy the customer a little bit, and you just want to make sure you can get to the closure as quickly as possible. And once you've done that, the final point is to reduce post-purchase anxiety as much as possible, right? And there are going to be a few things that I'm going to talk about here. I know it's going to be a little bit difficult to implement, but you must try. So the first thing is trying to do an unboxing simulator. So just the moment I check out, show them what the package is going to look like. Maybe autoplay a video in the checkout screen, thank you page, saying, hey, this is what happens when your package arrives. You take out the box, you unpack it, gift wrap opens, and then you get your product box. So you can only do this if you have kind of a standardized product size and packaging, like in the case of t-shirts or jewelry or any of that. The next one could be pre-unboxing surveys. For example, you can instantly ask them a question. Hey, where will you use the product first? That also helps you capture some information. And if, for example, you're selling household products and they say living room, then you can show them other products depending on what they chose. So your thank you page should also be a shopping experience because they've already committed to your brand. So you could do that. We've actually seen this with somebody who was able to manage this on the back end, but we have been able to cross sell post purchase, right? So if somebody's bought a tablecloth, on the thank you page, we were able to get them to buy table mats or something else, some other accessory, and add it to the same order they had just placed. So that was pretty awesome. It bumped up the AOV almost instantly and worked very, very well. Swipe to reveal perks. This is easy. This is obviously a pretty straightforward one. I've already spoken about how you have to prioritize gestures on mobile. And the last one is countdown, to unlock something new. So what you can do is thank you for your purchase. In the next 1 hour and 29 minutes, check back, come back to the site, and we have a special gift waiting for you. And kind of do a nice graphic with the product that's covered under black cloth. I think AI can help you do that. And then add a remind me button below that, so you can send them a reminder to remind them about the product you're going to unlock for them. I think that engagement really works. They've already placed an order with you. Your whole goal of doing this is to not get order cancellations. Order cancellations go up by 2 to 3 times during season. I don't know if you've already noticed that, but it does happen. Please analyze that data point for yourself. And we're trying to avoid that from happening, right? So as promised, exactly 40 minutes in, I've walked you through 20 ideas, and I hope this was helpful. Before we close this, I'm happy to take any questions you might have, anything that you feel I can answer specific to your story then. I'm happy to do that. But thanks so much for spending this time with us. I really hope you have a fantastic holiday season. We're going to do two more webinars, which are going to cover some more deep advice specific to the next 3 months, including we're going to cover data for trends that we see normally for conversions, how they change during this period, channels, how they change during this period. And we're going to talk a lot about LLMs in the future. ConvertCart.com's own traffic, about 10 to 15% of our traffic is now coming from a mix of ChatGPT, Perplexity, Gemini, and so on. And so we figured out a way that works. And I think we would love to share that information with you. So yeah, if there are any questions, I'm happy to take them right now. Raja, thank you so much for reaching out. We will be in touch. We'll just take a look at the site and get back to you. Okay, perfect. All right. Thank you so much for your time, everyone. I will be in your inbox. If you would look like an audit of your site's experience, we'd be happy to do that for you. Thanks so much and have a good one.